set notation and interval notation. I know I'm asking for a lot, but it'll pay off at the end. So I'm assuming you pause the video and give this a shot. So I'm going to isolate this first. So subtract 4 on both sides, then you get that negative 2x is less than or equal to 2. You divide by negative 2. So then you get that x is dividing by a negative or multiplying by a negative causes that to flip or sign. You get negative 1, so I get that x is greater than or equal to negative 1. So I just have to use negative 1 or anything bigger than that to satisfy my original equation. So then we got set notation. That's when we use this brace. Our variable we're talking about is x, such that whatever we got. And then we close off the brace. I kind of like set notation because we don't really do anything. Okay, so then we have interval notation. So for the interval notation, we like to use infinities if we can, and brackets and parentheses. We're going to use a bracket though because we're including our answer. And when we're talking about interval notation, we're always trying to tell the reader or whoever's looking at our paper that I'm trying to describe to you this from left to right. Okay? So negative 1 would come first, right? So if you're going from left to right, because this thing's going off to infinity. So starting from the left, it's saying negative 1, and then we're including it. And then it's saying anything bigger than that, so that would be infinity. And we never include infinities. So that's, oh, and then we got to graph it on a number line. We got 0 here, negative 1. We're including our answer, so the circle that we draw is going to get filled in. And if you want to use the arrow trick, whatever, this arrow is telling me to go that way. And you can only do this if the variable is on the left, right? So then from this point, I'm going to go this and shade everything to the right. Or instead of that circle thing, filled in circle, I could use a bracket. Alrighty, so, you know, we're not doing anything new. It just looks more complicated this way, but really, again, just treat that as like an equal sign in your mind, and this isn't really anything new. So when it gets complicated like this, try not to, let it scare you. So we're going to first distribute what we can to get 3x minus 6 plus 5 is greater than or equal to 6x plus 10 plus 1. Combining the numbers, get negative 1. Combining those, we get 11. So if I want to use my arrow trick to help me on which way I should shade when I'm graphing, I want the variable to be on the left, and we normally want that. So you don't have to, but I'm going to get my variables on the left side. So I'm going to subtract a 6x, and I'm going to add a 1 at the same time. So then I get a negative 3x is greater than or equal to 12. Then I divide by negative 3. Divide by a negative so that sign will switch. Alright, so then now we're going to put that into set notation, interval notation, and shade it on a number line. Alright, so that's what we got when we isolated it. Now we want to put it into set notation, which is pretty straightforward in my opinion. We're going to use, talking about the variable x, such that just put the same thing that we got, and then close that guy off. So that's the easy one to get rid of first. Then the interval notation. again, we want to tell the person that we're talking to that I want to show you this from left to right. So it's saying x is less than -4, so that would be coming from negative infinity. Alright, that's the smallest value you get, so negative infinity, and then we get to -4, and since we're including it, we're going to use a bracket. And then if we go to -4 on the number line, 1, 2, 3, 4, which is here, we're going to use a filled in circle, and if you want to use the arrow trick or whatever, because my variable is on the left, this arrow is pointing to the left, so I shade this way from this point on. And if I like, I could also use a bracket to denote that. So why don't you go ahead and try this one? It's one of the crazy looking ones that's not so crazy, actually. Okay, so I'm just going to treat this as an equal sign when I'm going to go ahead and isolate the variable that I'm looking for, and I'm going to try to get it to be on the left side. So let's distribute first. And I'm assuming you already tried this. So you get 2 minus 2x plus 5 is less than 6x minus 3. Combining, we get 7 minus 2x is less than 6x minus 3. And I want the variables on the left, so I'm going to subtract the 6x over. And I'm going to subtract the 7 at the same time. So we get negative 8x is less than negative 10. Divide by negative 8. Dividing or multiplying by negative causes the sign to flip. So you get that x is greater than negative, divided by negative is a positive, and 10/8 reduces to 5/4. Alrighty, so when we isolate it, that's what we got. X is greater than 5/4. So let's go ahead and put it into set notation, which is my favorite part. So we got a brace. We're talking about the variable x such that whatever we got. Close off the brace. Okay, that's the best part. Now, interval notation. We're going to talk about infinities if we can, and use parens or brackets. Since it's not included, we're going to go with parens. And the number line. So 5/4, that's like a decimal, you know. So you're going to just have to approximate where that is on the number line. That's like 1 1/4. 1 1/4. So it's just going to be in between 1 and 2. 1 1/4 is about there. You just approximate it. So since it's not included, I'm going to use an open circle, or I could use a paren. I want to use my arrow trick way to indicate which way I should shade. So that arrow there is telling me to shade to the right. So from 1.25, I'm going to shade anything to the right of that. And I could have also indicated with the paren that I'm not including 5/4. So I just want to point out that if you're having a hard time coming up with the interval notation, how do you put your answer into interval notation, you might want to sketch it first. That sometimes helps. Because again, we said we're just trying to describe to the reader what's happening from left to right. So I'm coming in from the left, and I hit 5/4. That hollow circle or the paren lets me know it's not included. And then I'm just going off to infinity. And infinities never get included. So that was it for linear inequalities. And in the next video, we'll look at compound inequalities.